Hello and welcome to the iRacing Le Mans series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and tonight I am joined alongside by Sam Kumo, and in the iRacing Le Mans series we're here at Le Mans. Pretty good combo, don't you think? And certainly the drivers in this series agree. Lots of drivers signed up for these races for splits. Today we're broadcasting the very top one. I'm going to have some terrific drivers here today. Sam, terrific to be back at Le Mans. A while since we broadcast this series and track combination. And of course, this is what these cars were made for. It's the perfect combination. And everyone in this series knows this track superbly well. It's in the calendar every single season. And so we should have some really high quality driving.
Hello, yes, definitely, and not only that, it is also one of the most popular endurance events that we have every year. So I suspect that many of these guys, they have also competed in the 24 hours race. So despite being fairly new track to the iRacing, I think these guys do have plenty of experience here.
Yes, the iRacing Le Mans 24 Hours, a few months ago back, I guess now. Not quite sure what the changes to each of these cars has been since then, but I don't know of any major significance, so maybe they can use those same setups. Of course, 1 hour race today, and one pit stop for each of these classes. You can see it's a little bit dark. It is 21. It's 9:23 in the evening for these jazz on the 17th of August. A nice little addition that from iRacing, the fact that we have all the correct dates ish for the week. We'll get progressively darker, as you can imagine, as this race goes on. Qualifying is complete, and so we can go through your starting grid. And this starting grid in the LMP1s, I don't think we've seen this many LMP1s all season long, 15 of them. And in first position is Dominic Faber. Fabrice Cornelius, who's the highest I-rated driver outside the field, he starts in second place with Marcus Hamilton in third. Then it's Marco Roderman, Alexander Witzel, Charlie Summers up there in sixth place, Ruslan Barakumlov, Molnar Peter, Jakob Weiderker, Robert Edwards, Claes Paulson, Antoine Cousin, Cy Anger, and Dylan Mann, rounding out the top 14 drivers there. And then, unfortunately, Christian Race did not set a qualifying time, but he's also be starting at the rear of that field. And then in the HPDs, we got Alex Trainer on pole position alongside Jeremiah Morton, Tim Greben, Timu Toika, Jerome Delcourt, Saulo Souza, Kevin van der Slick, Calvin Fraudant, Marius Rommelfanger, Bart van Dert, and David Denderlot, and also Andy de Ruyter. Set quite a slow qualifying lap. I assume he's going to be a little bit faster than that when it comes to the racing. In the GTEs, Pascal Stix is on the pole position with Chris Lullum in second. It's Kane Halliburton, Matti Sipila, Brian Lockwood, Diego Pinto, Elias Sapinen, Casper de Court, Gaetan Anger, Barry Aaron's, Eric Grove, Antonio Garcia, Adam Wolkowitz, Stefan Ebert, Jose Lobo, Gonzalo Camara, Yabin Yang, and also about to Alander, Andres Jorgensen, Richard House, and Christopher Coupe. A lot of drivers there, Sam, who maybe see a bit on.
Sorry, Sam, I think you're breaking up there. Could you just quickly disconnect and connect again? As we are...
Okay, this should be okay now, is it?
Yes, now it's okay.
Yes, that was
Just in
purely
time.
my own. I was just saying, yes, good timing for that. Just saying how we've seen quite a few of these drivers around on Apex Racing TV before. I'm looking at maybe Summers and a few others out on the field there. It's good to see this track and car combo attracting so many different drivers to this race who don't usually race.
Yeah, I think like this is kind of... it has been, I think, standard for this series that the Le Mans, it always draws a huge crowd, same with the Spa. And I would say that maybe these guys, they may not run this series usually, but perhaps they have some setup left over from a 24-hour race, so why not give it a go? Because it's still a lot of fun even in this 1 hour format.
Absolutely, we're going to have lots of fun out here today. Because the LMP1's just rounding out the final few corners, executing those Porsche curves on this very short formation lap. We've got the jets in the air. It's quite deafening, especially in these LMP1 cars, some of the quietest cars out on the field. And you can hear them very much overhead. So, 1 hour of racing then, Le Mans in the iRacing Le Mans. So the Porsche safety car is about to pull into the pits, and it's going to be left to Dominic Barber out in the lead. Well, he thought we could see some issues through these couple of chicanes as the later classes get through, and also in the LMP1s as well, because it is so tight and twisty. Barber holds on, but now goes into single file. He puts his power down. He puts that 1,000 brake horsepower onto the circuit, and he's got a very comfortable lead straight away. Not too many changes in that LMP1 field straight away. Bit of an issue for Jeremiah Morton in the HPD class. I don't know what's happened to him. He seems to be underway, but dropping right to the back of that order, and he was starting on the front row of the grid, remember. So big issues for him. And in the GTEs, still got Pascal Stix leading the way there ahead of Chris Lullum and Matti Sipler. Not many changes there. Kane Halliburton having a very poor start in that GTE. So a couple of really poor starts for some of the top drivers there, Sam. I guess that must be due to the difficulty of these opening chicanes, as we see Halliburton make more contact, and he's on his roof, and that is pretty much game over. No, he's got back going. The gravel just about flipping back the right way. He'll be grateful for that, but no, he is actually back to the race.
Yeah, that poor start from Kane just went all the way towards. And we also saw Trainer just briefly having some issues with LMP1, who was really slow off the start and was even flashing the lights trying to get past. And I think we might have more issues here. No, that wasn't it. But yeah, we also had, who was that? Jacob Weiderga just retired.
Yeah. So shame for Jacob, who we haven't seen too much of in this series. Hopefully we'll see him back for future rounds. Dylan Mann, who's had a terrific run of form in this car recently. He didn't have a fantastic qualifying start down in 14th place, but already up into 9th, as they are almost at the end of the Mulsanne Straight for the first time. Absolutely difficult to get your energy deployment correct around this circuit. You can see Christian Rose there, who didn't set a qualifying time. Great to see him trying out this LMP1 car. And he is moving ahead of Robert Edward currently. Also, Fordon has just got past Delcourt down in 5th place out of the HPDs. And from this point onwards in the circuit, gets a little bit more difficult to overtake, gets a little bit more narrow, but there's still an extremely long straight coming up. But to go side by side going into Indianapolis is going to be brave on the opening lap. But it seems like Fordon is willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I would expect that he will be able to get that position as he does. Roman Fang just doesn't want to risk going side by side through here. And maybe
Probably.
At this point of the race, Calvin might be slightly faster, so for Marius, it's not actually a too bad idea to just follow a faster car here, because you get such a huge advantage in the draft.
Yeah, it could be an advantageous decision there. Save a little bit of fuel, go one lap further in this opening stint, and it could pay off nicely for him. I just heard a little bit of tyre squealing there. I think it's just the amount of load that these drivers put into the track through these Porsche curves. Of course, if we see an instant round here, well, brace yourself, because there's not too much space to avoid it. Of course, a little bit outdated, this part of the circuit, because of course that barrier just on the side of the circuit there is no longer there. A little bit more runoff in real life. Stix then still leading the way, a driver who was very successful in the HPDs in this class, but he's still ahead of Chris Lullum. But, you know, if you stay within 1 second in this car, Sam, then, you know, you're going to just be tugged along all the way through the race. That's what these drivers got to watch out for.
Yeah, and I think there we saw Brian Lockwood getting the really bad first lap slowdown. that corner exit, it's really punishing. If you go in slightly too wide, you will be hit like 2 seconds slowdown, and it is going to cost you a lot, especially on the first lap. As he now comes under attack from Anger right behind him.
Yeah, so straight away his race falling away a little bit for Halliburton. Really, Lockwood, really sad to see him falling down there. Had a decent start as well. Lockwood, I think, gained a place off the line, but has just been going backwards since that slowdown and just about hanging on to that position for now. I think Anger realizes that if he makes the move around this part, so he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck down the first of the Mulsanne straights. But you can see how Lockwood just struggling to get back into the rhythm of this circuit and running wide at almost every single corner. Another opportunity to pick up a slowdown around that part of the circuit as well. And Anger will just gradually get closer and closer. Any sorts of defense is difficult to defend around here, of course. Goes to the middle of the circuit, does Lockwood. Anger might have to use that little bit of extra grey part of the track on the side, but that will be simple enough for him. He moves ahead, and Lockwood doing the wise thing of backing out to that. That's the change for P7 in this race.
Yeah, on this track, it's really the slowdowns that are your main enemy here. There's not many major issues with curbs or difficult corners that would damage your car. It's just the slowdowns. Basically on every single corner exit you have to be careful.
Have you raced at all around this circuit this week?
Not this week. This has been pretty busy, but I'm hoping to do a race tomorrow, or at least on Sunday.
As Bouquet now goes off the circuit, and he's going to pick up no, he actually gets back onto the circuit. Credit to him. Getting back onto the track. The Ferrari ought to be the fastest car round this place, but the BMW seems to be quick pretty much wherever we go. And also the Porsche as well might be half decent, although there are very few of them out on the circuit today.
Yeah, as on your screen you can see the field split. In top 20 we have 2 BMWs, rest are Ferraris. So I think that really tells you the POP right now.
Yes. Certainly with this top end speed, these Ferraris are absolutely lightning around Daytona in this place. They are certainly the cars to have. Pascal Stix and Chris Lolland then pulling away from the rest of the field. I think Lockwood was up in 3rd place, wasn't he? But he picks up that slowdown, and ever since then, there's been a bit of a gap, a bit of a vacuum between 2nd and 3rd. And Sapilla 2 seconds behind, already struggling to keep up with these guys. Lolland, I imagine, will just stay behind in the slipstream to go that one extra lap in this first stint, because he probably realizes he's not got the pace to pull away from the driver currently occupying 1st place. Just lifting out of it there. Lolland was certainly not an overtaking opportunity going into the Porsche curves. And they're just extending that lead ever so slightly, even through the Porsche curves on the cars behind. They've got this one seemingly locked out to these 2 drivers at the moment, going extremely impressively. Just had a change of position, I believe, in the HPDs. I think Van der Slick is just dropping down the order a little bit. I think he's just dropped a couple of places. There he is.
Yeah, I believe Van der just overtook him, so that might have actually been a slowdown. I'm seeing him going off the rack. And is this a slowdown through the fast corner? Let's see. Clean through there. And you know what? I think that might be a slowdown and an off track.
And potentially a little bit of floor damage as well. So
sorry, that was actually Andy Reuter, not Van der Slick.
Oh, was that? Okay. So both of them having some issues, and now both of them fighting one another. Extremely close contact there. They just about giving each other enough room. Unfortunately, now they're side by side. Neither of them have the slipstream. It's Denderlock just behind, who's really going to be catching up to these guys. He's going to go down the middle. That would be very risky. There's not quite a HPD's width down there, and there's really nowhere he can go. Denderlock, he's staying ever so close. Real tailgating down this what is usually a road, and a little bit of netcode there, and they both go out, and Denderlock well, he was rubbing his hands when those two came close to one another, and in the end, he's profited from that massively.
Yeah, he had the best seat in the house and just it was really smart move for me to just back off slightly, or maybe smart and maybe lucky as well. And now Brand Wander is second to last, and Kevin Van der Sik is all the way last in the HPD field.
Even dropping behind Jeremiah Morton, of course, had that awful start, and already about 15 seconds off the lead is Delcourt then, and Grieven. Grieven quite a regular now in this car. Then Delcourt, not a driver that we've seen much of on Apex Racing TV, side by side into Indianapolis, as we see Edgar with an off, and that could be problems as well with the driver almost coming round. But fortunately, not too bad. Delcourt has got caught up in an instant. I thought that they were a little bit close to one another, Delcourt. And unfortunately, they have made contact into Indianapolis. This was an ambitious move, and we just saw the starts of it, and this is what happened.
Yeah, to my it seems like Delcourt maybe just lost the back end. I'm not sure if maybe there was netcode contact, but it seemed like it just suddenly let go. But the cars were far enough from each other, so there was no clear contact at least.
So a few issues for the drivers in the HPD class at the moment. Edgar, who was spinning round, he at least makes up a place here on low boat. Next up for him will be Camera, 2.5 seconds up the road. But if you get embroiled in these battles early on, you can really lose yourself lots of time just constantly changing positions down these very long straights. Really just need to set your sights on the car ahead and try to pound in those laps without having to worry about the other drivers. Of course, the LMP1s will be going through this field relatively. Actually, they're still about 0.4 of a lap away, so we'll have probably 3 or 4 more laps until those drivers come together. Shouldn't be too much of an issue, despite having 50 cars out here. A terrific turnout, 200 drivers signing up for this race, divided into 4 splits. But shouldn't be too much of an issue, the traffic today. Faber not pulling away from Cornelius at the moment, with Hamilton also in the mix. I believe Faber and Cornelius are teammates, are they? Or is it Faber and Hamilton who are teammates? Yes. Maybe we'll have, well, yeah, it will be interesting. We'll probably find out by their driving language how feisty they are with one another, to see if they are rivals. Paulson has dropped down the order in the LMP1 field now, so he was running, I believe, in 8th place, Paulson, and there he is. You can see how dark it is. Really has got like, extremely quickly. Pretty much the same time in Europe at the moment as it is of course, in Sim. So if you any Europeans out there, look out your window and you'll see what the weather's doing. And wow, it could have been a whole lot worse that as well. Paulson struggling to just running wide and very low ride height on that car. The gravel unsettling the car. So they did used to be the same team, though, didn't they? I swear they used to be. Yeah. Or I might be thinking of another driver, to be fair. I know Hamilton is teammates with someone. But, right. All very good teams. Of course, there's so many top teams and so many teams which are... You look at them and you think, wow, that's one of the best teams in the world. But to have so many of them on the track, not just in this class, but in other classes as well, absolutely terrific. And this is as dark as it gets now. These drivers will be used to this, and it's difficult to imagine somehow. A year ago, was it? We didn't have transitions. We didn't even have nights at Le Mans. And yet we have this, and it's quite easy to forget that. Yeah. I mean, that just seems so ancient now, doesn't it? But I mean, less than 12 months ago, that was the case. Rose gradually finally. It's Trey Summers, by the way, up in 6th place. We haven't really given him much attention, but he's doing a good job. Don't know how much of this car he drives, but he mainly drives the MX-5, I believe, on a Tuesday night. Meanwhile, Christian Rose, who of course a BSRTC regular, also a World GT regular, and he is making up some moves at the moment. Up 3 places from his start into 12th. Yeah, as he gets past the Porsche. Did you beat him? I mean, take that as a win. You won that championship, you know. It's your staying power won it. Yeah. Of course, on Apex Racing TV, we are currently broadcasting a Porsche Championship, the Apex Racing League British GT Championship on a Sunday evening. And if you want to find out details on that, look on our Facebook page. I believe the post about that is still pinned. I forgot to unpin it from our social media. So check out our Facebook page and you can see sign-up details for second round of the championship. I think we will probably reopen them for GT. Yeah, because we're close to maxing out at the moment. 60 cars maximum. We had about 55 the other day, so I don't want to get too many more signs. But certainly, if you're in the Porsche, we will welcome you with open arms, I'm sure. Of course, not one of these Porsche LMP1 cars. It would be a little bit too quick. So Faber, by the way, fastest lap of the race out of anyone out in lead of the GTEs. We go back to this battle with Anger and also Pinto and Garcia. Sippler, do we know what happened to Sippler? Because he was running up in 3rd place earlier on, Sam, but far from that now. Still an opportunity to make up some places, so Sippler certainly a top 5 very possible. Expect him to be hounding those drivers ahead any lap now. And then it's Evans, Alander, who started pretty much from the back. Also, Bouquet started right from the back. Edgar as well started very far back. So all those drivers have gained a lot of positions so far in this race. Had a few GTs get caught up in incidents earlier on. I think it was pretty much Jochimson, Ebert, and Halliburton, all the drivers who have retired so far, and also Hounslow as well, the only other retiree in the other classes. Wydurka, who is actually back going again and will soon be overtaking these guys for position.
Yeah, so far it's been fairly clean. We haven't had too many retirements. I think that is currently 4 retirements in total, so that's really clean for standard official race standards. And I think the track really helps there as well.
Yeah, quite a lot of runoff, of course, around this place. We'd love to have the MotoGP layout here, but fortunately it was a parking lot. So that is quite a lot of runoff area around there as well, certainly around this first part of the circuit. Can afford to have a bit of an off. Cleven and Dendelot then still having a battle. Dendelot got in. Was Dendelot involved in a crash? No, sorry, that was someone else earlier on. But
No, he was
actually
following the Wanderer and Slick Wanderer.
Yes, of course. Yes. Trying to break the draft though this time. These HPDs can turn down their engine mode down the straight, but it's not the best way of saving fuel. Best way to save fuel is just to lift out of the throttle before you get into the braking zone. This currently the closest battle out of the HPD drivers. Had that battle that we were just watching in the GTEs, and then Out's in the lead of the LMP1s as well. Got about 6/10 of a second between Faber and Cornelius still. Hamilton dropping off a little bit from those guys as they now enter the traffic, or probably entered the traffic a little while ago. Now having to get through the rest of them. There is Hamilton, a little bit behind, but he should catch up to these GTEs in quite a favourable area of the circuit.
Yeah, I think they are already through most of the GTEs.
A little bit ambitious, that move from Hamilton, but the GT was aware of him. I always find it interesting how pretty much every GT, whenever we see an incident, GT drivers always back the GT driver, and prototype drivers always back the prototype driver. It's such a divide in this series. Really just on your own history, and of course there's no right and wrong answer, but it's quite interesting to see how different people think that each class has a different responsibility when it comes to this lapping of traffic.
I think there's also the fact that when you're driving different class that are so far apart, you maybe just don't really realize how they behave in corners and how quickly you can slow down or avoid the driver when he decides to come alongside you.
Summers has just got past Witzel then. Oh, there. Sorry,
Yeah,
we're
they're
already
here.
watching it. You're 10 minutes ahead of me, Sam. Clearly, in terms of thought power, and yeah, he's actually pulling away a little bit. 6/10 of a second now ahead of Witzel, so 1 place up for the car number 8. Of course, the lower the number, the higher the iRacing. Summers, I didn't quite realize how good an iRacing he has. He's got the 8th highest out of everyone else on circuit. And he's certainly living up to that at the moment. Very impressive race being put together by him at the moment.
And it's really getting to be dark right now. On these cameras you can only see the headlights, and you can just about identify what car it is, but that's about it.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of night broadcasts, but it is quite nice going from the day to the night. Really using the time of the progressive time of day.
Yeah, I don't personally mind it. It's a nice change of pace, as long as it's on a combination where you actually have cars with headlights and at least track with some lights.
Yes. A few weeks ago, we broadcast on the Dinners with Racers YouTube channel an IndyCar race at night around Motorsport, and I watched a little bit of that broadcast, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the best piece of action I've ever seen. Really could not see anything at all.
Yeah, I think the highest visibility we had when the safety car came out. That's when you could actually see who was in the lead.
So it's very much a radio commentary, and even the commentators couldn't see what was going on. So maybe won't do that again. Check out, by the way, the Dinners with Races every once a month on a Saturday, and we broadcast a weird race in that. Last time it was the Williams F1 car around Eldora, and it was quite a lot of fun. Some of the drivers really actually took it quite seriously and got really good at doing it, and used all the dirt lines and stuff, using the fresh soil and all sorts. Maybe took it a little bit too seriously, but credit to them. It's clearly got a talent which will never need to be used in an official series. Anja running wide. Is he going to lose the position? Just about stays ahead, maybe deploying a little bit of extra energy just to make sure of it. And almost running wide into the Mulsanne Straits.
Yeah, but still, Dylan is coming alongside.
And Dylan Mann gets ahead as well, was 1.5 seconds faster on that last lap. Witzel had an awful lap that time round. he was 5.5 seconds slower than Man. So maybe Witzel, after losing that place to Summers, just really seemed to struggle in the traffic that last time round, and they won't be too far away from catching up to the HPDs, I guess, up the road.
Let's see where the HPDs are. Well, it's still a while, and the HPD field is fortunately more spread out compared to the GTEs, so I would expect there to be less issues with traffic when they get there.
Yeah, I guess the HPD is extremely fast through the corners around this place, whereas the GT is quite, of course, a tremendous amount of downforce the GTs have, but in comparison to these LMP1s, it really is nothing. And Joe just scorching themselves across the chicane there, missing the second milestone chicane as Kuzan now goes for a move. He gets past Molnar Pizza. That is for 10th place. So nicely done there by Antoine. And he too was 7 seconds faster than Pizza. So some of these drivers really struggling in the traffic. And if you catch it at the wrong point, you can really not just lose tenths, but entire seconds just by catching them in a slow corner.
That's just really the way it is with the multi-class racing, and you cannot really get shaken up by that. You just need to keep your cool and really trust that even your competition will have issues with the traffic as this battle continues on ahead of them with Dalman and Sayandra. Oh, was that even small contact there?
Certainly very close and very close again. Andrew goes off into the gravel and loses over a second to Dylan Mann. So Mann had to defend that one quite sternly after making the move earlier on in the lap, and Andrew drops back. So Mann, who had a very disappointing qualifying, starting to has already made up a lot of places, up 7 places, and certainly 2 more, a top 5 very possible for car number 12. Back in the GTEs, we've got very close battles still between Anger and Garcia. Those two, I think, side by side just a few moments ago. Cipolla also catching up to these couple of drivers as well, with Arons on his tail. Alander still in touch as well. So we could have a nice slipstream battle amongst these 5 drivers quite soon.
So looking at, we have some movement at the pit lane. Andrew Reuter just came into the pits. I'm not sure if that was planned pit stop or not, but it seems way early. Same thing for Molnar Peter.
Did we see what happened to Pascal Stix earlier on in the race? Because he's no longer leading the GTE class. He's quite a long way as well behind Chris Lullum.
I don't think we saw that overtake. Let's see. It seems like he might have some off-track adventure here.
And so he must have had a decent lead then. Oh no, so he wasn't leading already, I guess.
Maintaining, yeah. Yeah, he was already behind at that point.
Yes. So Lullum then potentially heading to an easy race win, because he's a long way ahead of Pascal Stix. He is 8 seconds, 9 seconds even. So it's safe to say he's out of draft range. Draft range is Pascal Stix, and now he's going to be under pressure from Brian Lockwood, who's managed to make his way back up into 3rd place, and impressively Casper Court in 4th, and Diego Inte in 5th. All those drivers with a decent margin between one another, but I expect them to close in on one another as the race goes on, because certainly Lockwood is looking pretty quick already, closing that gap to below a second to Pascal Stix ahead, and now just getting a bit of a waft off that slipstream.
Yeah, we'll really have to see what's the next lap time for Stix. To see if he is actually nursing some issue, or was that just isolated incident really. Also, Tim Greven comes in the pits from LMP2s. And so
Jeremiah
does
Morton
Morton.
as well.
I
Is there any
believe
chance
yeah, I
Sorry.
think they might have had an issue. Because I saw there's something on the time screen. So this is Morton and Greven. Yeah, that was friendly coming together there between these two guys.
So Morton, he had a pretty rubbish last round of the championship. And despite still leading the way in the HPD championship, he's not another quite disappointing evening for him here at Le Mans.
And Lockwood is ahead of Styx.
Aha.
I had to double check here. So I believe that happened when we were on the replay. But let's just see it. Yeah, that's a normal clean pass. It seems like maybe Styx is missing some top line speed because that was quite a large difference in the straight line speed.
So maybe picking up some damage on a curb earlier on for Styx. And yes, struggling, taking a little bit too much curb gain there. Just a little bit of tire squeal as he tries to get the car straightened up as they start their lap 9 of the race. They don't complete many laps around this circuit. But of course, a timed race, 1 hour long. And we're over halfway through it now. So drivers should be coming into the pits earlier than they usually do. As Styx, oh dear, is that a slow down penalty? His race just getting worse and worse for him. He's still running in 3rd place, so it's not awful for him, but you can already see now the next driver behind of Casper de Court, only 1.2 seconds behind. If he gets much closer to Court, then he's going to be in slipstream range and he'll inevitably catch up to the driver occupying the last place on the podium.
I think at this pace Kort is going to catch up because he has been, on the previous lap at least, he was faster than Styx on most of the sectors, so I'm not sure what issue Styx is having, but it is certainly affecting his lap times. But also behind them they have this kind of a party pack here with Garcia, Anger, Sipilä, Arens and also Alander here, who is possibly going to catch up as well, but we will see. Depends on really how much these guys are going to slow each other up.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier how we could have a nice 5-car battle, and that's what we've got. Garcia, the cork in the bottle at the moment. A few of the HBDs coming into the pits, by the way, so we'll keep an eye on that if there's any change. At the moment in this battle, no change whatsoever. They're all line astern, and none of them interested in making a move. They're all saving as much fuel as they possibly can, and Antonio Garcia, poor him, he's absolutely dragging these guys along at the moment and might be at risk of having to pit 1 lap earlier.
Think we might have had an issue on the LMP1 pit stops for Sousa. Did he overshoot his pit box?
This
No,
is
I'm not
already
sure what
quite
happened.
a long stop for him. 26 seconds. The others are at about 22 seconds. Yeah, this is awful for Salo Souza. Maybe it's a speeding penalty. Yep, I think it is because 36 seconds stopped. And that's about 15 seconds longer, which is what you get for a speeding penalty. So shame that, or it could have been an unsafe pit entry as well.
Yeah, I was curious because it showed that he entered and left the pits, which usually indicates that he actually had overshoot his pit box, but maybe that was just a penalty.
Any idea when these drivers are going to have to pit? I recall at Sebring last time, I was saying how when each class is going to pit, and I was hopelessly hopelessly wrong. So maybe, I don't know, 40 minutes into the race, do 2 more laps?
Yeah, on the series the cars are fuel limited, so normally, for example, GTEs would easily do the 1 hour. So I'm guessing we are maybe going to see the pit stop at around 40-minute mark. Depends on really like how close it gets with the fuel.
Oh, 1 cent. About to see Alander. Oh, sorry, Barry
No,
Emmons.
yes.
Apologies. So, bit of a strange strategy there from Emmons because they were all following one another, seemingly trying to save fuel. But Barry's decided to come in really early, not take advantage of perhaps that fuel that he's saved. And he will get stopped on his pit box.
It's also possible that Arens was just too close with the fuel. And I think that also means that these guys will be making the pit stop this way, this time by. Because it is 3 minute 40-second lap. So that would be in the margin, and I don't think they can do 2 more laps with this fuel.
Yeah, that would really be pushing it a little bit too far. Credit to Garcia, who hasn't had a tow for the vast majority of this stint, but he's managed to still eke out that fuel to the same distance as pretty much all the other GTE drivers, even some of them who have had a tow. Anchor has had a better tow than most, I think. Absolutely nose to tail, almost pushing him along. You don't want to do that in these Ferraris. Got a bit of a scoopy front half of the car, so you can quite easily get underneath the driver ahead of you.
And let's see, can we see Anger saving the fuel on here? He should be lifting off just before the braking zone into the second chicane. And there you see him lifting off the throttle as we enter the braking zone.
About 100 meters that look like of fuel saving.
Yeah, that's really the way you can save fuel with these cars. The engine mapping and so on, it doesn't really help you because it hurts your top line speed.
Also interesting how long that 5th gear is for him. Almost misjudging that braking zone a little bit, but yeah, that 5th gear absolutely going on seemingly forever, only changing up into 6th right at the end of the straight. We've got a few of the LMP1s in, pretty much all the LMP1s in fact. Christian Reis hasn't pitted, but Dominic Barber's into the pits. Fabrice Cornelis has pitted, Marcus Hamilton as well. So the top 3 stayed pretty much the same with very similar gaps. Rose stayed out, Rodderman into the pits in for what would turn into 4th. Poor pit stop then for Charlie Summers. He drops, wow, about 15 seconds actually on his rivals, and he was running in effectively 5th place, but now he's effectively 8th. So that's really let him down. So I'm saying he's quite detached from the drivers ahead as well.
So what was the pit stop time? That was 32
32
seconds.
seconds.
Yeah, that was way too long. So perhaps that was also unsafe pit entry or a penalty.
It is a very tough pit lane here at Le Mans. A strange one. At least it's not particularly fun either. I mean, yeah, make it a bit more interesting. You got some fun pit entries, I think, in the world of motorsport, but then you have some pretty just tricky ones.
Did you also notice Lulham just thinking about doing the pit stop but decided to go for one more lap, so he is doing good on fuel, whereas Lockwood, he is coming in the pits and so is Gort, so is Styx, and Styx is really kind of getting held up there. Pinto, Anger, Garcia, no, Alander stays out, but basically
Maybe that's
everyone else is coming in.
could be the BMW perhaps. Does the BMW have good fuel consumption?
I don't think there's a huge difference because it's compensated by the difference in fuel tank size, but we do see Chris Fulham in the Ferrari also staying out, so we'll see. Now we have Barry Orange here who pitted 1 lap earlier, so I think now it will be interesting to see where he actually comes out. Can he undercut?
This could be a genius call, as you say, Sam. He could undercut all these drivers ahead of him. He was, I believe, fourth in the chain, or maybe Alander was just ahead of him, who stayed out, so we won't know where he is. But here he comes. Anger comes out of the pits, trying to get accelerated. Arons isn't going to get ahead of all of them, at least. Who did he just pass there? That was Lockwood. So Lockwood now with an awful pit stop. So many of these drivers in each of the classes messing up the pit entry, and each of them getting a 15-second penalty. 31 seconds there for Brian Lockwood. Well, it'll be a fun race now for Lockwood, but I think he's potentially just throwing away a second place there.
Yeah, that's surprising because at least I don't find this pit lane too difficult, because you have the chicane that basically limit your speed that you can carry. So that is before the speeding line. So did he maybe get double pit stop? Did he overshoot the pit box, or what actually happened? Because it's really unusual to see so many issues here.
And you can take a lot of the curb as well, so I don't imagine it's an unsafe pit entry. We see a lot of them at Bathurst, but they're quite strict there. At Le Mans, you can, clamber all over the curves. You can kind of cut that chicane that you were speaking about, Sam, and you usually get away with it. But whatever has happened, it's cost these drivers significantly. Sipler then, who was running in third place earlier on, he's got a chance to overtake Anger right now. And here he goes then, going for the move. We've been holding back on all the moves for all day long, and all of a sudden we've got two of them going on in about 10 seconds. And Sipler moves ahead of Anger, and Arons moves ahead of Garcia. So Garcia, who was right at the head of this chain, is now at least fourth in it, and he might even drop to fifth in it because Alander is yet to pit. Garcia
just
as well.
take a look at, yeah, I'm just wondering. Yeah, Garcia is really close with the barrier runs here, but I think these pack really stay together. What's going on with the LMP1s? Farber, he's really opening up the gap right now.
Did lose 0.6 of a second on that last lap, but on the most part, yeah, he has been extending it. Was about 2.5 seconds when they came out of the pits a few laps ago, but it's up to 3 seconds now. I think Cornelius is going to need a bit of luck from the traffic if he's going to catch up. They have passed all the HBDs already, so next up will be the GTEs, who they are about to catch. In fact, they are, well, there they are, right in front of them. Brian Lockwood, I think that is who they're getting past first. Sorry, no, Christophe Bouquet. Apologies.
And now we also had Alander coming into the pits.
Weird sounding car that in the pits. So some weird noises on the BMW full stop. I think it's. Do you know what that weird sound is under? Is it throttle or braking? I can't quite remember for the BMW.
I mean, it does have a side exhaust as well.
Ah, right.
And I think that also might be the anti-lag, just to keep the turbo spooling.
As it helps him into what would be fourth place with the issues for a couple of these. Sorry, fifth place, because already Pinto's got past. Here comes Alander, and I think he's just going to have them clear. A bit of flashing lights behind, but he's just about got it done. Sipler can't catch up, and if anything, that was maybe a little bit more comfortable than Alander expected. Just over a second he had advantage, and by going one lap further, he's gone from, what, fourth in that chain to right at the front of it, and the driver who didn't set a qualifying lap started right from the back of the order. He's up into fifth place now with a fighting chance of catching up to Diogo Pinto ahead as well.
Yeah, I think Alander really benefited from being able to run that one extra lap, because of course this is a really long lap here. So just being able to save that one extra lap of fuel that you don't need to take, that is definitely going to be a shorter pit stop. And of course you're just being able to then run a lighter car towards the end. And Pinto almost getting a slowdown there.
Yeah, if you cut any of that corner, even the third parts of it, yeah, you're going to get a slowdown. But using all the space, not too much rubber on the circuit, as you can imagine, not too much driving has been done, but you can imagine around this place, 2 or 3 hours into the 24 hours of Le Mans, and you've got some pretty dark lines. Not that you can see them, I guess, once it gets this dark. It is fantastic, though, so I don't know if you've noticed much of a difference in the headlights recently, since the last build, because they became quite a bit lighter. I haven't done any night driving since then, but have you noticed much of a difference?
Yeah, the lights are definitely brighter, and especially the tail lights. It's much easier to see the tail lights when you're driving. So that definitely helps with kind of getting idea on if someone is braking unexpectedly, so you can actually see it. Because that used to be the problem, that the tail lights were so dim and hard to see that it created some small issues there. Also, I kind of like the LED strips that they have on these GTE cars. You can see a Pinto here with the green stripes and sticks with the blue.
Yes, and you can, of course, choose that color. I think you can also have red as well. So also on the LMP1s, you can choose all of that. So that was actually Pinto getting past Sticks. So Pinto's been absolutely superb in this race. A driver who, again, we haven't seen too much of, and he's only 1.6 seconds behind Casper de Court as well up the road. So Sticks, who's remember was leading early on, lost the lead to Lulham, who I think has just been a class above all these other GTE drivers today. Lost that lead, had a spin, and just really struggled for rhythm ever since then. Dropped behind de Court, dropped behind another driver as well. Who was it? Lockwood. Lockwood's had more issues up there. Lockwood has had a second pit stop. So he was running in the
Actually,
top
yeah, he
3
is
early on.
out of the race.
Oh, wow.
So let's see if we can find out what happened there. It is saying that Lockwood has crashed, but where is this actually? So that is just a spin. That shouldn't be a major issue. Oh, that was very close. About coming together with the LMV1. But then about... Is that 6 seconds later he had another spin? Or was that actually it?
Should be on this lap, lap 11, because he didn't complete any... He completed that lap 11, but it was very slow.
Oh, there he was. On the end of the first chicane. But even on the straight, the car just didn't look like he was happy with the handling, so... I suspect there might have been some damage that he was just dealing with.
So a race that really promised quite a bit for Brian Lockwood. It's great to see him out on the circuit. We covered the World F3 Championship, which he was quite a prominent member of, was constantly at the front of the field. I say at the front of the field, near the front of the field at least. But and he was doing well today as well. If you will race a little bit more in this GTE car in the future. Meanwhile, Sticks then trying to come back at Pinto, but if anything, he might try to follow Pinto and catch up to Casper de Court in second place up the road. About to be Alander 2.5 seconds behind it. It's easy to forget quite how close all these GTE drivers are. They seem to be pulling away from each other quite a bit in the early stages, but ever since then, they've just been really close, and drivers from second down to about 8th place in this race, separated by about 9 seconds.
Barrierens just looking past Anger here. Also, we just had a confirmation from Brian. He had an issue with the pit stop. He did uncheck the tires, but Instead, they actually started changing the tires, and I believe that might have caused a long pit stop there.
Johnny Brandon, I know, was having some issues with the ticking of the tyres in the UV8 Supercar Series about a week ago. Came into the pits and they didn't change. It's automatically ticked on usually, the tyres, when you come into the pits, but they didn't change and it lost them potentially the race win. Still finished that race, I believe, in third position. Very good race that, by the way, in the UV8 Supercar Series. Certainly do check it out on Apex Racing TV.
Also, thanks to Elias Seppänen and Patrick Richter on Twitch. Thanks for the host. I see Patrick basically, I think, doubled or... Well, that's much more viewers than we usually have on the Twitch side.
Yes, so many thanks. Is it subscribe to Twitch or follow on Twitch?
It's follow normally,
Follow.
whereas
Okay.
like they do have subscription option, but that is paid.
Okay. I guess we don't have that.
I think the option is there, but I mean follow is what is the same thing as with the YouTube. And Anger is definitely cutting the chicane there and might be having to pay the price.
I mean, that's a big slowdown. And was there a slowdown as well for the driver behind? Or... Yeah, no, Aaron's didn't pick up a slowdown, so he goes straight past then. So very Aaron's then up a place. And Anger, he was fighting for the lead, was fighting for what would now be 5th place. He's a long way behind that now, fortunately for him. Christophe Bouquet, who has just always been a little bit detached from these guys, about 2.5 seconds further back off this battle. Just yet to really get into the slipstream. If he had got into the slipstream before they got into their first pit stops, then maybe he would have been a little bit more of a vital part of this race. But instead, he's just been by himself for the most part. His headlights just about catching the rear ends of the GTEs ahead. Pinto catching up to the core a little bit out there, 1.5 seconds. We'll go back to the P2s or P1s? P2s, shall we?
Let's go to P2s. There's something going on here. Oh, this is just the LMP1. We're taking LMP2 second place.
Wydurka.
Yeah, Wydurka, Stoikka. This is not the position for the class.
No. We saw at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago all the LMP1s finish the race within about a minute of one another. And I think there were 10 of them that day. And I mean, today they've done a pretty good job as well. We've got 14 of the 15 LMP1s on the lead lap, and the only one who isn't Wydurka had an issue right at the start of the race and would probably be on the lead lap if it weren't for that. So the drone stands of the LMP1 class certainly are improving. By the way, Summers and Witzel very close to one another. 1/10 of a second. Witzel just stays behind though. So that is the battle. Oh, sorry. Well, on the time screen it said that they were a bit closer than this, but 1.8 seconds apparently between the drivers in 7th and 8th places. And then, of course, we had that battle with Denderlots and Souza fighting over 5th and 6th places in the HPDs.
Yeah, this battle is actually close here. And this is currently the closest battle we have in the LMP2s.
I was just looking at the championship points in the LMP2s, and Alex Trainer has been catching up decently to Jeremiah Morton. Also, Calvin Fordons is currently in 2nd place in that class in the championship. So we could have a nice tussle between Trainer, who has really come on strong, just gradually improved in this car over the last couple of years, and Morton as well, who dominated the first part of the season, particularly Daytona, absolutely crushed the rest of the field. But since then has really kind of struggled a little bit in the last couple of rounds in particular. Just struggled to get the most out of his pace, out of his abilities.
I still can't get over how nice this track looks at night with all the lighting and all these
Yes.
grandstands.
I mean, I have everything turned off on my graphics, but I can imagine what it looks like. Of course, the newest circuit to iRacing will be Circuit de Catalunya, or I think that's what it's called. And that'll be a fantastic addition for all different cars. Oh, Pascal Sticks. Well, I mean, I'm surprised he doesn't park it up right now. This has been a painful day for him. He was finding some rhythm as well on the tail of Diogo Pinto. They were both catching up to Casper de Court, but now he's dropped behind Valtteri Alander as well. Those two drivers started, I believe, 18 places between one another. But now, yeah, instead now Alander actually gets ahead of Sticks, but only by 1 second, so Sticks might be able to catch back up. Good to have a nice battle in these closing stages between the drivers in 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. But, of course, we haven't got much time remaining. 5 minutes to go in this race. The race leader about to start his 17th lap, or sorry, his 18th lap of the race.
Yeah, just staying on board with Sticks, just try to see what actually is the problem. And we saw coming onto the back straight that he had massive understeer on the fast right-hander, so maybe that is the issue there. Possibly some floor damage from hitting the curbs, but at least on the outside it doesn't seem like there's any visual indication of crashes or collisions that he might have had.
Knocking down a cone on the entry there. It's a bit of a weird one, that the cone rules. You can skim those cones and fly them into the air, but you can't hit them kind of nose on, otherwise you get a penalty. That was a change made a while ago. But something that has just become so natural to these drivers. I doubt they even think about it anymore. There's another one. You can't use all the circuits. Do they use all the circuit on the outside there, Sam, in real life? Are iRacing just trying to replicate real life, or are they just trying to stop people from using that apron?
I think my understanding is that iRacing is a bit more strict when it comes to the rules, and especially at the Monza. I mean, you see the drivers using the runoff areas much more perhaps than in iRacing. Unless of course you turn off the incident limits, then all bets are off.
Yes. As people found out in the Spa 24 Hours. Another fantastic meme created a couple of very good ones. Check out that on the ApexRacingTV Facebook page. It's been a bit quiet, to be honest, recently. I really do need to get a few more. I'm sure about half of our followers on Facebook are crying out to me, saying, no, not any more of that horrendous humour.
Oh, and look at that.
Plays Poulsen in, so that is for an extra bit of fuel, seemingly. Shame for Clays, and he's going to drop behind Peter and Baram Kulov. But I think he's only going to lose 2 places, actually. It shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, now this is gonna be interesting, because if this means that the race is actually running 1 lap longer than the drivers were expecting, we might see a few more drivers dropping in for the splash and dash, really.
We're not too close to the threshold, to be fair. Dominic Barber is going to start his 18th lap. Oh, sorry, his 19th lap. Apologies, getting confused by the timing screen. He'll start his 19th lap in, 30 seconds time, and we've got 1 minute and 50 on the time. So that fuel systems, JRT or whatever they use, should be correct. But we always love a bit of fuel saving at the end. A bit of panic from the drivers, always fun to see. And fuel saving around here can get pretty entertaining, because you have drivers absolutely just coasting through this entire Porsche curve section. It can cause some issues for the drivers behind.
And here might be issues for Fabrice Coronel, because he is suddenly slowing down a lot.
Marcus Hamilton all over the back of him now. Hamilton wasn't particularly fast in the opening stint, but to be fair, in this second stint, he's been matching the top two drivers. Having to go really defensive there is Cornelius. They're both going to stay out. Seemingly not that the fuel issues not too significant. And Hamilton not best pleased with that whatsoever. It was a little bit of a late move there from Cornelius, but you never want to be mugged going into the penultimate chicane like that.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive block there. So I'm not surprised that Hamilton isn't too pleased about that, but then again, it's the final lap, and you kind of have to get a bit more aggressive than you would on perhaps, let's say, first few laps. Also, we have movement in the GTEs. That's Arens and Garcia going side by side here on the back straight.
Aaron's defending against Garcia, I believe.
I believe this is actually Arens overtake.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, he was behind at the start of this lap at least. Oh, and that could be issues for the HPD. Just about gets past because they're barely any faster, the HPDs, down these straights that the GT is absolutely lightning down these ones, whereas the LMP ones with quite an advantage.
And change of position in the LMP once. Hamilton overtakes Cornelis on the final lap.
Seemingly, Cornelius with no response whatsoever. And he's already 1 second behind. Maybe Hamilton's deploying a bit of extra energy to make the jump, but looks very convincing at the moment. Cornelius constantly losing time down the straights. Maybe a bit of aerodynamics because he seemed to lose about a second or so, and very slow on the entry there as well. So Cornelius lost already 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, he's way down. That is either aerodynamics or the fuel, because he is dropping down constantly. Then again, he does have 20 seconds gap to Marco Rodeman on the fourth, so he should be able to finish third, as long as he can get to the finish.
Souza versus Denderlots is very quick. Denderlots has just got past Saulo Souza. There he goes into a corner that we haven't seen too many overtakes, and here we go side by side. Oh, nice battling. And it's Souza who gets ahead then of Denderlots. And that is a proper move. That's not defense, that is a proper move. Souza, though, well wide, and that's got to be a so unless he managed to get onto the circuit in time. And he doesn't seem to be fending that one too hard. So Saulo Souza got the hard work done and then just got caught up behind GTE.
But they still have one more lap because Faber is only coming through the Porsche curves.
Yeah, he's 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Cornelius continues to lose vast amounts of time. He was 4 seconds slow on the last lap. He's already dropped about 5 seconds on this lap. But Dominic Bubby's been absolutely dominant. He was kept honest in the early stages by Cornelius and Hamilton. But since then, it has been easy as he likes. He rounds the final couple of chicanes, and the pole sitter is going to take the LMP1 victory here at Le Mans. Dominic Barber is your overall and LMP1 class winner. Next leader will be Alex Trainer out there. Marcus Hamilton wins. Wins out of best of the rest, second place. Corney is struggling in third, but he does cross the line and well, not best pleased there.
Yeah, I think that sums up his race.
He doesn't care about his safety rating, clearly, picking up a 4x right at the end. Rodderman will be fourth. Bit of a quiet race for him, and Dylan Mann, nice drive up the field from 14th. He will finish in 5th. Alex Trainer still going out there. He's 5 seconds ahead of Timo Toika. Those two never really that close to one another. Alex, quite a comfortable race victory. I think this will be for him, and really does help his championship charge as well, with Jeremiah Morton an entire lap down. Or an extra lap down on the LMP1 leader. So really disappointing for car number 14 out there. But it's going to be victory for car number 18. And Chris Lullum as well, halfway round the lap so far in the GTEs. A couple of relatively close battles, but just pairs of drivers. Seemingly, we've got Alander versus Decor. In fact, Alander's got past Decor, so looks like Alander might manage to get third place out of the GTE drivers. Won't catch up to Pinto, but Casper Decor, who was running in second place just a few laps ago. Seemingly not going to hang on to that pace. And then we've got Dendelot versus Souza. Dendelot got back past Souza then. And now Souza's going to try to respond for the very last time. He's got to make that move soon.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Trainer is coming through the final few corners here and will be taking the victory in the LMP2 class.
Yes, congratulations to Alex Trainer. Really strong run of form. I think he won Sebring last week as well, and he's getting into a nice rhythm in this series now is Alex Trainer, and that really does boost his championships efforts of catching up to Jeremiah Morton. Still close between Alanta and Decor, but he's running out of laps. Garcia with an issue on the last lap of the race, and he's dropped behind Arons and Anger and Bouquet as well. Shame for Antonio Garcia. Out in the lead of that class, we're going to see Chris Lullum take the race victory. Diogo Pinto will be in second place, but Lullum, who was qualified in second place, that feels like a long time ago, took the lead quite early on and has absolutely cruised to the race victory. Chris Lullum wins in the GTE class at Le Mans. Like I said, Pinto will be second, Alander third. Decor isn't going to be able to respond there. We got Alander will take that place. Got Arons versus Anger, but pretty much no changes down the field. Alander, what a drive that was for him. Up 17 places overall. I think that's 17 places in class. Really good effort from him. It looks like his evening might be a disappointing one after not setting a qualifying time, but it's turned into one of big success in the end.
Also a good battle here between Arens and Anger. Arens just gets it by 3/10. And also does some stunt driving on the main straight.
So I've got all the drivers then across the line, and so we can go through the final results. And so the winner overall and in the LMP1 class was Dominic Barber. He was 10 seconds ahead of Marcus Hamilton. Strong end there for Hamilton to take that second place. Cornelius had issues right at the end. He finishes in third. Marco Rodderman, very impressive fourth. Dylan Mann, good drive through the field in fifth. So too Syandra in sixth. And there's Charlie Summers, Alexandra Witzel, Antoine Cousin, Christian Rose, Molnar Peter, Ruslan Baramkulov, Claes Poulsen, Robert Edwards, and Jakob Weiderker. Rounding out those drivers. All those drivers pretty much finishing the race. So congratulations, another really good attrition rate in the LMP1 field. And then top of the HPDs was Alex Trainer. He's executing some nice donuts at the moment out on circuit. Timo Toika finished in second place with Calvin Fordon rounding out the podium. There's Marius Rommelfanger, David Dandelot beat Salo Souza. There's Jerome Delcourt, Tim Grieven, Jeremiah Moulton, and Andy De Ruyter. The retirees there, Ben Van Doenright, and also Kevin van der Slik. The GTE's Chris Lullum wins out by over 20 seconds over Diogo Pinto. There's Valtteri Alander rounding out the podium. Behind that was Casper Decor, Matti Sipola, Pascal Stix, Barry Arons, Gaetan Anger, Christophe Bouquet, Antonio Garcia, Jose Lobo, Eric Grove, Johnny Edgar, Yabin Wang, and then it was Adam Wolkowitz, Brian Lockwood, Elias Sepinen, Gonzalo Camara, Richard Hounslow, Andreas Jochimsen, Kane Halliburton, and Stefan Eber. That was 49 drivers who took part in today's race. Sometimes we have interviews with drivers. Unfortunately, of course, Josh Thompson was watching this and unfortunately just missed the sign up. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have a chat with him and a couple of other drivers as well. He sometimes have a chat with us, like Jeremiah Morton. Sometimes I have a chat with us, but I don't think he's really up for a chat after a bit of a disappointing race there. I'll just let you know that next week in this series, we head to, or week 10 of the championship, or sorry, week 9 of the championship. Sorry, no, week 11, apologies. Kota will be next week. There you go. Circuit of the Americas. Then we'll have Road Atlanta. rounds of the championship. That Circuit of the Americas race will be at midday, by the way, so we could have some very hot conditions for that. Might not have quite as good participation for that one. The not the driver's favourite circuit, safe to say, is Qatar. But we should still have some terrific racing for, of course, one of the World Endurance Championships rounds. So, still no one coming for an interview, so I think we'll probably just round off this evening. So I do thank you all for tuning in for today's broadcast. Hopefully you really enjoyed it, and any drivers who are, of course, watching this back, we certainly thank you for turning up to the race and making this so entertaining. If you haven't already, of course, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also follow our Twitch and Facebook pages as well. But for now, from me and from Sam as well, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.